Baseball Hell is a production of Monkey Bite Enterprises. No animals were harmed in the making of this podcast. Well, hello again, everybody. This is Tommy the K. It's June 28th, and you're in Baseball Hell. I'm here with my esteemed colleague, Ward Davis the Ninth.
Hello, everybody. Hey, Tommy, how you doing?
I'm doing good this week. Doing a little work repairing an automobile that one of my daughters had a mishap in. So I put on my shirt with my name on it and got a little dirty out there.
Does it just say Tommy the K on your shirt?
Yeah, yep. Tommy, next to a big grease spot.
Yeah, that shows you've been working. Usually what I do is when I pretend I'm working and then I just put like dirt, slop some stuff off me. Yeah, and then I just jog in place for about 10 minutes and then create a sweat. And then I come in and they're like, whew, it's rough out there. I'm going to come in and just relax and have a cold one. Can you get me a towel? You know.
I remember doing stuff like that when I was a kid because it seemed like if you had your baseball uniform, you always wanted to have that big dirt, dirt streak all over it, like you saw the guys on TV after they slid in. They had dirt all over their uniform.
Right, I did that. I got a walk in the first inning and slid into first just to get that stain on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just coach at get up, and took me out right away. So you remember my coach?
Yes.
The coach not the coach that we had together, but
I was thinking about this the other day, Davis, when we were kids back in my old neighborhood. There was one kid across the street, and his mom used to get on him really bad if he came home all dirty because we were typical boys. We're out rolling around in the mud like pigs, and totally destroying our clothes. Tearing holes in the knees and everything, right, and the grass stains all over it. But I remember his trick was he would wear his sweatshirt inside out. So then he'd get it all filthy, and then he'd flip it over, turn it right side out, and then he could walk in the door without his mom yelling and screaming
well, that's
at
a
him
very
for getting
smart
all
thing.
dirty. Till she pulled it out of the laundry, and it weighed about 5 pounds.
I did that with my underwear, but that's another story. That's one of those ones you have to bury in the bottom of the hamper, and just hope it just goes in without any questions. But that guy's an astronaut now. He's that's what he called thinking because when I was a kid I never thought of that, but that's a good idea.
Remember the show? What was that show? It had Michael Landon in it, not Little House on the Prairie. He was in a movie called The Loneliest Runner. I think it was a made-for-TV movie. And he was a long-distance runner who was, competing at Olympic level. I don't know if it was supposed to be a true story or whatever. But the backstory behind it was that when he was still, kind of adolescent age, he still had a little problem wetting the bed at night. And one of the reasons he was such a good runner was because as soon as he got out of school, he would have to run home as fast as he could because his mom would hang the peed on sheet out of his window to try to embarrass him, I guess to give him incentive to stop peeing the bed at night. So he became a pretty fast runner because of that.
I wish that that story had ended with him just possibly killing his mother. That might have been a better ending to that one.
Or at least coming home and peeing on her.
Racing home. And then still being a great long distance runner. I remember that now. I did not remember that until you just brought it up. But
it had remember there was a show called James at 15. This is another like 70s show. Kirk Cameron, was he like a teen idol back in the late 70s?
Not the 70s. Kirk Cameron was more like I think the 90s.
Who was the kid who played James at 15? As I believe he was also in that vampire show, Salem's Lot. Remember that movie? Another made-for-TV movie. I found it. Lance Kerwin. You're right, Davis. Kirk Cameron was a Lance Kerwin protege in the '90s. He was the '90s version of Lance Kerwin. But anyway, yeah,
Wow.
I was thinking, that what if you had to run home because your streaky underwear was going to be hanging out of your window, not just your peed on sheets.
Well,
That
I
would,
thought about that. That's why I buried it in the hamper.
yeah.
So I also, like your friend who became an astronaut who wore a sweatshirt
Hmm.
inside out, you know,
You
kind of
got to
have a
stay one step ahead.
one step ahead of adults all the
Yeah.
time. I think that was on the same time as Boy in the Plastic Bubble with John Travolta.
I was thinking about that movie the other day too. That was the John Travolta made for TV movie, The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. Now that was also
Yeah,
supposedly loosely based on a true story of a kid who had no immune system or a very
right. He
very
was infected
deficient
by it.
immune system and he had to live.
It was kind of a fascinating show, and I don't know because I was young when I saw it, but I
Yeah.
just I couldn't stop watching it because I'm thinking, oh God, this would be terrible.
What a predicament. Yeah. I felt the same way about it. It really grabbed your heart, especially as a young
Right.
person. You'd be like, oh my gosh, what a life, to be
It
sentenced
really
to.
grabbed my heart. It really grabbed my heart when I was eating, Oreos and milk, and letting the Oreo dunk in the milk as I'm watching it. It really made me eat Oreos and milk.
Just
But
yeah, made you eat more Oreos and milk.
yeah, it was. Just was gripping. So I gripped the whole bag of
Yes, you're
Oreos and
gripping.
like, what's going to happen now?
Did you used to do that, Dave? I mean, I would just take that whole pack and eat. I'd eat at least half of that pack with a cup of milk.
Yeah, it's hard to stop on those. They're small, and but I think what happened was what slowed me down was I would always dunk them and see how long I can dunk them without half of
Yeah.
it going down to the bottom. And then when it went down to the bottom, you got a little surprise when you're done with your milk. It would be like, and we called it sludge. There was a
Yeah.
bunch of sludge of
Yeah. The Oreo sludge.
the stuff that it kind of looked like the stuff we used to swim in, and just the different swimming holes we'd find all over when we were kids. It kind of looked like that.
Yeah. We weren't too
So
particular.
no, no. I liked. Speaking of things that ended up in your liquid, I liked eat Fritos, and uh, every once in a while we'd have a treat. We'd get a Pepsi or a Coke, and if you could, usually we get a Pepsi to watch The Wizard of Oz, and I'd eat Fritos. It would be a real treat. You're watching The Wizard of Oz. You've got a Coke or a Pepsi, whatever it was, a
Hmm.
bottle, and you're eating and Fritos. I mean, what could be better, on a Sunday night? And you're drinking it, and then you look at the Coke bottle, and there in the Coke bottle are little bits of Fritos just floating around.
Fizzing away.
Yeah, and sure was good to go down. I tell you, it was a real
Yeah.
treat.
Yes,
The treats of life, especially when you're young.
it was a simpler time.
Well, yeah, this is one of those things when you get up to wherever the afterlife, whatever's out there. And you say you get up to heaven, and God says, "Well, what did you learn out there?" Like, "Well, I learned that little bits of Fritos and a Pepsi is not bad."
Not bad. And I can
And
eat a and I can eat a
you
whole
know,
bag of Oreos.
right, you can eat a whole bag of Oreos, and of course, God would say, "A little bit more time in purgatory, and then you'll."
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, that reminds me, you owe me another year in purgatory. Yeah, you're not quite ready for the big show yet.
And speaking of the show,
Yes.
baseball. A lot of baseball to talk about today,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
a lot of different things to talk about. Where do you want to start?
Well, I think I was looking at it at the information for this week. We came out of the All-Star break, right? And the Cardinals, they right after the break, they had a quick 3-game series at Atlanta, and they did well. They actually, the Friday night game got rained out, so they played a doubleheader on Saturday. I think they lost the first game, won the second game, and then they had a good game on Sunday that Sonny Gray pitched, and the Cardinals ended up taking 2 out of 3 from the Braves in Atlanta. And that was Davis right at the end of that third game too. Was when Albies got injured. He broke his hand.
Oh, that's
Did you
right.
see
Yeah,
that?
I didn't see it. I heard about it.
Yeah, it was just a weird
But
play where the guy was running by second and just kind of glanced off his glove, and it didn't look violent, like a violent impact at all, but it apparently broke his hand. So the Braves are out Albies, Michael Harris, and Acuna. Yeah, they're hurting.
they are hurting, no doubt about it. Those are tough losses right there.
Yeah.
Um,
So they're hanging in there. I mean, they've still got excellent pitching and other good players, but how many more losses can they take on that roster and still hang in there? But they're still sitting in the top wild card spot, I believe. Yeah. So anyway, the Cardinals right after the All Star break did come out hot enough to win 2 out of 3 in Atlanta. Now then they went to Pittsburgh, so they go into that series, and this was Monday of the previous week, and the Cardinals are 5 games over 500 at 52 and 47. They're sitting in second place, trying to chase down the Brewers. They also were holding the second wild card spot at the time. So game one at Pittsburgh, they had Andre Palante against Mitch Keller, and Mitch Keller is a pretty darn good pitcher for the Pirates. Pirates
mhm.
are they're looking up, especially when you look at their starting pitchers, who they've got on that staff now with Keller and Jones and Skeens. They definitely have some bright days ahead, at least in the
They
pitching
do.
department.
Once these, yeah, I think like this, they could sneak in this year, but possibly next year they're going to be one of the
Yeah,
favorites. I
and
would
and
think.
they've been hot lately. So the Cardinals ran into them when they were pretty hot, and they really had some. The first 2 games they played them were pitchers duels. Like I mentioned, Palante against Keller in the first game, and the Pirates ended up winning that one 2-1. Not a lot of hits in this game. The the Pirates got a run in the third inning. McCutcheon hit a double, and O'Neill Cruz got an RBI single. They went up 1-0 in the top of the fifth. Cardinals scored their only run. Nolan Gorman hit a solo home run. That's his 19th. Gorman, an interesting guy. You look at his stats this year. He's got 19 homers, but he's barely batting 200, striking out over 40% of his at bats. Very, very streaky player. When he gets hot, he can hit you 3, 4 home runs in a week. Then he might go 2 weeks with nothing but strikeouts, and then he'll warm up again. And it's been very
Yeah,
frustrating, watching him. But hey, he does have 19 home runs. The bottom of the eighth, though, the Pirates picked up a run. Reynolds got a single. There was a wild pitch by John King, and Nick Gonzalez got an RBI single. So the Pirates won that one 2-1. But I mean, the good thing to take away here, besides the home run by Gorman, Andre Palante pitched well again, and this is the guy who is the quote unquote fifth starter or fifth starter candidate. They still won't even put the guy in the starting rotation, or at least name him as a fifth starter. Although he has done well the last 3, 4 outings that he's been out there. He went 6 innings, 3 hits, and only 1 run. So that was one
yeah.
good thing that came out of that. Now the next day, Cardinals had to play against Paul Skeens. So we had Lance Lynn for the Cardinals going up against Skeen.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah. And so, having lost the first game, you're thinking now they're really in trouble. And Skeens was tough. He was all over them. Now, in the top of the fifth, this was a 0-0 game. Arenado got a solo home run off of Skeens, and that was his 10th of the year. Arenado showing a little bit of life lately. Put the Cardinals up 1-0 here. Then the Pirates scored a run in the bottom of the eighth, and in the top of the ninth, Ciani led off with a double, and Alec Burleson got a base hit off Skeens, who was still pitching into the ninth inning there because it was a 1-1 game, and they wanted him to get his seventh win. So Skeens was 6-0 coming into this game. And an interesting thing there, Davis, was I heard them say that only one player in the last 100 years had started his career 7-0 as a pitcher. I was surprised to hear
Oh
that,
my.
but that's how unique Skeens' talent is.
Do we know who that is? Is it
I can't remember the
Koufax or
name of
somebody
somebody. It,
like that?
it was somebody from years and years ago. It was no one that you'd recently be knowledgeable about. I don't think, but yeah. And so Skeens failed to get to 7-0, barely. He pitched 8 1/3, and he did give up that second runs. Burleson got that RBI single off him in the top of the ninth, put the Cardinals up 2-1. Helsley came in, pitched the bottom of the ninth, got his 33rd save. So the Cardinals squeak this one out and prevent Paul
Yeah.
Skeens from making history. Although he did dominate them, all through the game up until the ninth
Right,
inning.
that was a good win for the Cardinals to get it to, when you're going against somebody like that, then you do, who also pitches well in that late into the game, and then you still win the game. That's a big plus.
Yeah, and Lance Lynn pitched well for the Cardinals. I mean, he only went 5 innings, but he did not give up any earned runs. Pitched out of bases loaded situations twice, I believe, in this game. Um, so he was crafty. And so the Cardinals win this one, but they go into the third game of the series on Sunday and just pretty much laid an egg.
Jesus Christ.
They lost that one 5-0 to the Pirates. They only got 6 hits. Now they only gave up 5 hits, but the Pirates scored 5 runs. Matthew Liberatore started this game, and it was really disappointing. Liberatore has just not been able to break out and establish himself at all, especially when he's in a starting role. He seems to be particularly bad in this game. He lasted 3 innings, gave up 5 earned runs. The second inning, he walked 2 guys, hit another guy,
Jesus Christ.
gave up a couple singles, walked in a run. Next thing you know, it's 4-0 Pirates. Then in the fifth inning, or in the fourth inning, Rowdy Tellez hit a solo home run off of him, so they're down 5-0. And Liberatore just did not look good at all. Not throwing enough strikes, and whether that's because he doesn't have the confidence to throw strikes or whether he was really struggling with the control, it was hard for me to tell. But it really looked like he's just doesn't have the confidence in his stuff just to go after people the way that he needs to. And he ended up walking 2 guys, hitting another runner in the same inning, and all it takes is a couple singles. And
Seems to me, Tommy, I'm interrupting you, but it seems to me that the Cardinals pitching staff is very inconsistent. They'll have a good game.
mm-hmm.
This includes Lynn, Liberatore, even your Sonny Gray.
Yeah,
They have good games, and then all of a sudden,
awful games.
bad games. They're not stringing good 3, 4, 5 solid outings in a row. I don't know if there's somebody who is that I'm missing here, but
No,
missing
they're
here.
really
But
not. Yeah, you'll see. Lynn will pitch 2 decent games, and then go out and give up 3 home runs in the first 2 innings. Michaelis will pitch
hmm
2 good games, and then and go out and just get
and then
clobbered
it's
for 7 or 8
home run
runs.
derby.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. So yeah, that's a good assessment. I think they've been inconsistent. Liberatore, though, especially, just can't seem to put together a good start. He's had a few moments when he came out of the bullpen, and he looked like a different guy. He would come at him with higher velocity, more of a bulldog attitude. But even lately, he just seems to have lost his confidence. He just looked. You could see the pain on his face when he was out there pitching. He knew he was going to get pounded. But anyway, so that Cardinals lose 2 out of 3 to the Pirates in Pittsburgh. Kind of lucky to get the one win that they did get, especially since it came off of Skeens. They're 53-49 at this point, midway through the week. You want to go to the Cubs?
Uh, Not really, Bobby, because the the Cubs, as you know, they went into with a little momentum. I say a little momentum. They had a big 7 game road trip, and they swept Baltimore, one of the top teams
Yeah.
in Baltimore, and then I say a little momentum because they only split with St. Louis in St. Louis, but it was considered a very good uh, pre All Star game. Was considered a very good road trip. And hey, you know what? If let's see what happens, and the Cubs come right out on Friday, flat as a pancake. They lose 5-2 the first game.
Who were they playing?
Arizona. They
Okay.
lost 5-2 at Arizona on Friday, um, and then Saturday they get shut out.
Jesus Christ.
They lose the first two games. By the way, Saturday they got shut out 3-0. On the Hendricks watch, Kyle Hendricks watch, he pitched 5 innings, 3 earned runs. It keeps the Cubs starters have been keeping the team in the game, but they can't score. But on the Hendricks watch, his ERA has dropped to 6.69 with this game.
Well, he just needs to pitch against the Cardinals a couple more times, and he'll get that down.
Exactly. And then the Cubs had one hit going into the ninth inning on the Sunday game, looking
Ugh.
like they were going to get shut out against Arizona. However, it was only 1-0. They were losing 1-0. And then Nico Horner doubles the leadoff in the inning. And he scores, and then they win on the 10th on a Horner a walk-off walk,
Oh,
and
bases loaded walk.
a bases loaded walk. And the reason they won that game really is because Imanaga kept him in the game. He pitched 7 innings, gave up 2 hits. One walk, only one walk. He doesn't walk people. 1 earned run. Kept him in the game. Struck out 10.
Wow.
Looked great. Kept him in the game until what they usually do. They get a few runs at the end of the game. Usually, they're too far down. But this one, they're really down 1-0. They come back and win the game 2-1. But after the first two games, it's interesting to note. We're going to talk about some trades later on there. After the first two games, when they lost coming out of the All-Star break. Um, Jed Hoyer made the announcement. We're not going to be making any big deals. Everything's going to be looking toward 2025. In other words, we have too many teams to pass. We're in
Yeah.
last place in the Central, and that's just to get to the wild card. We're not going to do anything when we get in there. We're nowhere close. That's what I read behind the words, but there's no reason for them to make any big deals.
I,
But we'll
I would
get to that
agree.
later.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, well, was that a big disappointment to you, or did you think it made sense? Because to me, I think it makes sense for what the Cubs are right now.
It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense because they're not, they built a team uh, to have guys who are solid players, top to bottom, and they have not been, and they've had some injuries, but who hasn't? We spoke about the Braves, Acuna,
Yeah.
and all these people, and yet the difference is these guys, Philadelphia's had problems. Um, Look at the Dodgers; they've had
Yeah.
how many injuries to their pitching staff? But look where they are in the standings. So you can't say, "Oh, well, the injuries have really hurt the Cubs," because they just can't hit. They haven't had any hits, and then they proved that again. They have a big series with Milwaukee. Going in with a victory, they pretty much have to sweep the Brewers. So they play Monday against Milwaukee, and they win this one. Assad and Smiley and Miller and Hodge and Varys even they shut down the Brewers. Cubs win 3-1 to begin this series. Now they're 2-2 on the road, a home stand, and now they have to win the next two. Bush gets a couple of hits. Happ hits his 16th homer, looking good. Tuesday, 10 guys left on base. They lose 1-0.
Oh,
Tom, how do you say his name?
they say Tyon.
7 in the third, 1 earned run. He gets the loss. Loses 1-0. These starting pitchers are pitching their butt off. They're
Yeah.
one of the top-ranked starting pitching ERAs in the league, and these guys are getting losses. Cubs don't score. They lose 1-0 on Tuesday. So that one really hurt. And then it's tied into the ninth on Wednesday at home, and of course, Neris gives up a run. Scaris Neris, Nervous Neris, whatever you want to call them. Man, it's just really tough. Uh, Steele threw too many pitches. He could only last 5 1/3 innings. Gave up 2 earned runs, and then Neris gets the loss. It drops his record to 8-3 with 14 saves. Normally that wouldn't be too bad, but the Cubs lose 3-2, so they lose 2 out of 3 to the Brewers, and that's it. So they lose 2 out of 3 to the Brewers. They lose 2 out of 3 to Arizona, coming out of the All-Star break on what they said was a little bit of a momentum, and the season's pretty much over. They are 2-4 since the break. at this point. And by the way, they only scored 5 runs against the Brewers in that 3-game series at home,
Yeah.
and they only gave up 5 runs, but they lost 2 of them. So 1-run games, the Cubs are really, really poor this year. So that was really tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, and Cardinals kind of had the same problem with Pittsburgh. They scored 3 runs in 3 games, and they, like I said, they were lucky to get the one win that they did, especially beating Paul Skeens. They could have easily got swept by the Pirates because they've been struggling with their bats as well. But I think the Cubs, again going back to where they're at, do they need to go try to pick up some players and try to do compete for postseason this year? But I think, they could have a shot at it if they made some bold moves. But I think it would cost them more, down the road than it's worth because they've got the nucleus of a decent team and they're building on their farm system. And they would have to toss a bunch of projects. They would have to toss a bunch of prospects out at teams to get established veteran players that could come in and have an immediate impact. And it might help them this year, but then they'd probably be worse off next year and the following year because of it.
Tommy, leading up to this week was the All-Star game, and
Yep, another thriller.
and it was another thriller. And I think it was the second least watch All-Star game in um, baseball in history. Last year was the worst, I think. So
The game has lost its luster. Some of it just no fault of its own, but now they play up the home run contest so much. I think that draws a lot of the viewership, and then there's not much left for the next night. And the games just haven't been very either not very competitive or just not very exciting. It seems like more often than not, and the pitchers dominate.
well, Johnny Davis, when you say that, we have a guy here, and he's got ideas about how to make the not the All Star game, but all the hoopla, I guess is the word, around the All Star game
I see.
more interesting. He's actually involved in baseball. Uh, he's an usher in Cleveland, something like that. I don't know. He's
Then put him through on the phone, Joe. Let's hear from him.
all right. All right. Hold on a second. Line 11. And there's nothing on the first 10 lines. All right, but the guy's name is hello, Wylie Whizz. Are you there? Yeah, hello.
Mr. Wiz, welcome to Baseball Hell.
Oh, yeah, is that what it is? I was talking to whoever that was.
That's our producer, Joe.
Yeah, it sounds like he's been gargling with gravel. Anyway, I got some ideas. I've been in
Well,
baseball for a while, and I got some ideas.
we say you've been in baseball for a while. In what capacity?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure there at well, what do they call it now? Progressive Stadium in Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah, it used to be Jacob Field.
Jake.
Jake, yeah, that's that's where I started. But anyway, it's the same ballpark, you know. But yeah, my dad was a usher. He started in he started back in he did 50 years. He started in 44 at the old municipal stadium there.
Municipal, yeah.
Yeah, Cleveland. So I didn't want to get in it myself. Uh,
But
I
you
didn't.
did.
No, I wanted to be an arborist, but He did
Okay.
it for a long time. He said it's a good job. You know, you move people around. And I said, you know, you said you want to get an arborist. You want to get trees. They don't move. You
Yeah.
know, they
Well,
just
and
sit
so
there.
many kids, have that dream of being an arborist. If every kid became an arborist,
Well, I
but
thought it was related to fire. You know,
oh, okay.
but somebody told me that's an arsonist. So,
Yeah,
so I thought, well,
that's a
maybe.
slightly different line of work.
Oh, it's a big difference. I used to say, "What are you talking about? Trees?" You know, and so you know, so I thought maybe I'd be a fireman,
Yeah.
but I got a phobia of ladders. You know what it's called? Acrophobia.
Acrophobia.
Yeah, it's you don't like ladders, you don't like climbing. And then I went into ushering.
I thought that was people that didn't like spiders.
That's acno. This is acro.
Arachnophobia.
Arac. This is acrophobia. You don't like
Oh,
climbing things.
I see.
But I don't mind climbing the stairs. That's the funny thing. It's
That is
funny.
funny.
Anyway, I don't mind the stairs because when I go up and down the stairs, it's not. I just close my
Well,
eyes.
yeah. How could you be an usher if you had a problem with stairs?
Just close my eyes. That's all.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, my dad, he was over there. He 50 years. He was at the old municipal park. He was at the league park where they used to have over on East 66th in Lexington. You know, they used to split games there. They would play the municipal stadium when they put that in, and they'd have league park. The depression hit, and you know, people they didn't know what to do. Oh, it was a long thing going on, but he never liked municipal.
I
My
see.
dad. He said it was. He was the one who came up with the name. It was a mistake on the lake.
The
It's
mistake
too
on the
big,
lake. Yeah.
too big. 70,000 people in hell. It's
Yeah.
cold on the lake in April.
Yeah.
You know.
But it
But
when you have 70,000 people that can throw snowballs at the opposing team, in a
oh,
football game, that it actually can work in your favor. So you can see what they were trying to get at.
you probably heard of my dad, Willie Whiz. My name is Wylie Whizzer, and his name is Willie Whiz. You
Okay.
probably heard of him. He wrote books on ushering.
Really?
He was a well-known Usher historian and enthusiast. Yeah, he wrote. You probably read these books. He wrote "Essence of Usherness"
Oh,
and "Fall of the House of Usher."
I think I read that in grade school.
Yeah, that was well. Did you? I'm sure you did. That was after municipal. It was about Municipal Park, Cleveland Stadium closing. Now, he worked one day at the new Jacob Field.
But why only one?
Well, he succumbed to a team bus accident.
Oh, how
Yeah, it
horrible.
was a yeah. The bus was swerving to avoid the Wienermobile on a
Mm,
promotion night,
yeah.
and then right at the same time, a Chief Wahoo flag dropped simultaneously dropped on him, and it's maybe it suffocated him. Nobody knows what killed him: the Wienermobile, the bus, the Chief Wahoo flag.
So
Uh,
he expired.
First day.
They covered that up. I don't remember reading about that.
Yeah, you don't remember reading that? It was big news. Yeah, no one took the blame, but he got to Usher there in 1994. 50 years, and I'm keeping the legacy on. I've got 30 now, so 80 years of the family. And let me tell you, my son, he's working it for the Akron team right now.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so he's pretty. He thought about being arborist, but He's doing that. He's with the Rubber Ducks, Akron Rubber Ducks right now.
Well, that's good training.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I got ideas about the All Star game.
I'm sure
If
you
you want to
do.
hear them,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's why I'm on the show, right?
something like that.
I got ideas for watching baseball. I've been doing it 30 years. And I went out with my dad for 50 years. And we talk about it. But anyway, the All Star game, they got these home run hitting contests, and I don't know what else they got
Yeah,
going
fans
on
love that
there.
stuff.
So, yeah, but let's get to the real gist of what goes on in a baseball game, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
A spitting contest.
There you go.
I see players that spit constantly. They're spitting these seeds out.
Yeah.
I saw a guy he split. He had a split between his two front feet. He could spit from home to almost to second base.
Uh huh.
You won't believe it. I tried to take a picture of it, but I'm not real good technologically.
Mm.
You gotta. I saw another guy. He would spit sideways, horizontal. He would just shoot it sideways. He could hit the third base foul line constantly, every single time. It was
So you're
incredible.
talking about not just distance, you're talking about accuracy.
Accuracy. You had to have. It was like Bruce Sutter with the split finger fastball. You had to have
Yeah.
the right hand, the right fingers,
Yeah.
the right grip. This
Yeah.
guy, it was out. And it would hit, and it was like, but you can't do it again. I lost $30 in the game. It's incredible. And these guys, they're making millions.
Yeah.
I'm pulling down 32 grand a year. They're just like, you
Yeah.
really want to take my money? They did. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
not going to name names or anything, but he spit sideways. I had to give him credit. He's tough. It was a tough one, but you can't do it again. All right, the strikeout contest.
There's a lot of that in the game.
Exactly. There's a lot of it. Let's see who can do it the most. Let's see who can do it the most. You know what? Swing and miss. You can even have family members pitch to you.
I think. I think the Cardinals could send Nolan Gorman to that contest. He might have a shot.
Yeah, I think the Cubs could send a lot of people up there.
Oh, is that jerk?
Yeah, that's Davis.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, how about the ground out champion? The double play champion.
Okay.
Hit the goal. You got to hit the ball exactly. You put a guy in first. You put a guy. Even a triple play. Hey, you put a guy in first. Put a guy in second. You have the guy ground it right to the shortstop. You know,
Yeah.
these are things that happen throughout. These are more popular things because these happen a lot more. I'm telling you,
Yes, they do. Well, that's
these are
good
things that
stuff.
happen in the game. Who's the best at it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
Well, that's what we want to find out. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of guys hitting double plays, hitting into double plays. We want to find out who is the best at hitting into double plays.
Right. Well, anyway, that's to my dad. By the way, Wiz is my last name. Whizz.
ZZ, double Z.
Double Z. I've had a lot of nicknames. ZZ Top.
Hmm.
I'm bald as a cucumber up there. I look like a monk. I got the hair all around. And some of the people, they call me ZZ Top. I got some people, they call me the Wiz.
The Wiz. That was a
Right. I
yeah.
was, for a while there, I was the only white Michael Jackson impersonator. Before I started ushering, I thought I could make a career in that.
Uh huh. That's another tough gig.
Well, I can't sing and,
Yeah.
lip syncing a little slower and the dancing.
Yeah.
I got into that and I had the hat,
Uh huh.
but I couldn't break, I couldn't, what is that, moon dance?
Moonwalk. Moonwalk.
Moonwalk, yeah. I couldn't moonwalk, so I would
Oh,
just shuffle forward. I would just
yeah.
shuffle forward in some slippers. And
Yeah. People don't really like that as much.
no, it was a hit at some county fairs and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
then then eventually, people are like, "What?" So I stopped.
Glad you got out before you got hurt.
Well, yeah, it's a very thank you because it is a very dangerous thing being a Michael Jackson impersonator. I love Michael Jackson. That's why I did it. I
Who
loved
doesn't?
him,
Yeah.
loved him. Oh yeah, I told I got my kid. I even wrote Michael Jackson. I said, you ought to, I said, Michael, my kid loves you. I love you. I'm an impersonator. I'm the only white impersonator. By the end of his career, I'm looking at him. I'm thinking he's a white impersonator of white Michael Jackson. So that's why I got into it. He
Yeah.
started looking like me after a while. But I kept writing him letters. I didn't get anything back. I got one thing back. It was cease and something. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I've
can't
seen those.
remember what it said. Yeah, but I was writing them letters and said, "Hey, maybe my kid can come spend the night."
Uh huh. That probably got his attention.
I think he was getting trouble by this point. I don't know what for. Poor guy.
Yeah.
But boy, he was something else.
Yeah.
Could he dance? Could he sing? And when I tried to do him, I found out I couldn't. But I tried.
Yeah. Well, that's what's important.
But anyway, so those are some ideas I got, and thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, we
So
appreciate a fresh perspective on the All Star game, and especially the competition before it. It's people are always
well,
looking
yeah,
for something new.
well, yeah, we got to spice the game up here with some strikeouts and some
Hmm.
groundouts and
Hmm. Hmm.
spitting and things like that. That I think that really get the fans involved because it's not getting popular. As people are losing interest.
Yeah.
If anybody can hit a home run, maybe not Mick Kelleher, but anybody else can hit one. But
Yeah.
hey, thanks for having me. You
Yeah.
get
Well,
anything for this?
it's good.
Joe, do we have any prizes for him?
No, I'm gonna hang up on this guy. What?
Thanks for getting him on, Joe, and
Yeah.
thanks for hanging up. Now.
Yeah, thanks for hanging up. This guy has provided absolutely no new information that we could use, and he didn't seem to like me for some reason either. So,
It's just a bunch more editing that I got to do now.
but I have to say, Joe, you look a little peaked, and you've
I'm feeling a little bit better. Mornings I get up, I'm a little. And lately, I've been waking up in the morning. I've been feeling a little nauseous.
Oh.
I noticed that, Joe, because we have you in the mornings when we have our meetings about the show. You don't seem to be you're 100% there.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what's going on. I get up in the morning. I'm nauseous and craving stuff. I don't know. I'm restless. Restless.
Well, we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, I went down to the deli the other day and got a whole bag of pickles. I don't know what's wrong
Hmm.
with me.
All right. Well, Joe, you take care of yourself. COVID's going around again. It's making a comeback.
Right, right. Well, take care of yourself. Do you see a doctor there?
No, 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 no. I don't see nothing.
Hmm.
Oh, well, I mean, maybe you should. Or you look a little pale, but
I feel better tonight.
Okay.
okay, Joe. Thanks.
All right.
Well, Tommy, what do we got left?
Little more. I had a little more baseball coverage for the Cardinals
Oh
because
yeah.
I think we had a second series for the week, right? Now the Cardinals came back home to play Washington for 3 games, and this was an interesting series. This really didn't go the way the Cardinals wanted it to. First game was Sonny Gray.
Oh,
You all right there, Joe?
sorry. I'll take off my headphones.
All right. Wow.
Boy, Joe, keep that wastebasket close to you. Close
Yeah.
by. Sorry, Tommy. Go ahead. Keep that wastebasket close to you.
Yeah, so after an off day Thursday, the Cardinals come home. They're playing the Washington Nationals for 3. Sonny Gray in the first game versus Mackenzie Gore, a left-handed pitcher. And like I mentioned earlier, Cardinals are struggling against lefties. This one, Nats jump out to a 2-0 lead. Bottom of the third, Cardinals score 5 runs. Mason Wynn, a 2-run homer, his 6th of the year, and Arenado, a 3-run homer, his 11th. Cards are up 5-2. Things look like they're going their way. Nats pick up a run in the top of the fourth. Bottom of the fourth, Cardinals score another. It's 6-3 Cards. Things still going their way. But around the top of the fifth, things start turning against the Cardinals. Juan Yepes and Lane Thomas, 2 Nationals who are former Cardinals, total thorns in the Cardinals' sides this whole series. Nats start hitting the ball here. They score 2 runs in the fifth. They pick up another run in the seventh. This game actually ends up 6-6 after 9 innings. So we go into extra innings. Top of the 10th, the Nats do pick up their first run, and there's 2 outs and bases loaded thanks to a bunch of walks. And there is a line drive to right field. Dylan Carlson misjudges it, and it gets over his head, clears the bases. Next thing you know, it's 10-6 going into the bottom of the 10th. Cardinals pick up 2 runs in the bottom of the 10th on a Goldschmidt home run, his 15th of the year, but they end up losing this one 10-8. Disappointing outing for Sonny Gray. 5 innings, 7 hits, 5 earned runs. Um, Cardinals were up in this one, 5-2, and Gray could not hold on. Ryan Fernandez actually got the loss, but really, this one kind of points back to Sonny Gray not being able to hold on to that early lead. Second game of the series, total ass kicking by the Nats. They win this one 14-3, bang out 16 hits. Cardinals only score 3 runs on 8 hits. This was just not a good show all around. Although Kyle Gibson started, he didn't pitch that bad. He threw 5 innings, only gave up 2 earned runs, but things fell apart in the 6th inning. Roycroft gave up 3 runs. Liberatore came in relief, gave up 4 earned runs in only 2/3 of an innings, and this one just got completely out of hand. Like I said, 14-3. So the Cardinals lose the first 2 games of this series, and then they played earlier today, Sunday, and the Cardinals were able to pull out a victory here, 4-3. They were actually down 3-2 into the bottom of the 7th. Newtbar got a walk. Pedro Pajes singled and went to first and third, and Mike Ciani got a base hit with 2 outs to drive in the tying run. They go into the bottom of the 9th, and Goldschmidt leads off with the walk-off solo home run, his 16th of the year. Cards win this game 4-3. Thankfully, Helsley picked up the win. He's 4-3. He pitched the top of the 9th. So for the week, the Cards went 2-4. They won 2 out of 3 previously from the Braves, so they actually went 4-5 for the entire period of coverage here. They're 54-51. They're in second place, 6 games behind the Brewers, and they've fallen out of the wild card for the moment. So they're 1 game behind the third wild card right now, Davis. They're on the outside looking in.
Well, the Cubs, in the meantime, in the weekend series, they open up by losing to the Kansas City Royals. The game was scoreless into the 5th inning. The first game on Friday, July 26th, it was scoreless until the 5th inning. 2 outs, guys on base. And guess who misplayed a ball in right field?
Mr. Suzuki.
Mr. Suzuki. He goes back on the ball, then he comes in, and then he slides and it bounces in front of him.
Oh.
And it's funny because it's not funny, but he ends up every game he misplays a ball. He had 2 hits and a walk in the game, but it didn't really matter. He had pretty much was the whole offense too, and he
Yeah.
was the whole offense. He was the whole offense for Kansas City because a scoreless game with Hendricks cruising became a 6-0 game just like that. 6 runs scored that inning. And that's the only inning that the Royals scored. But does it really matter? The Cubs had 4 hits. They didn't score. And in the 7 games at this point, they've scored 9 runs. And then all of a sudden, Saturday, I'll call it the wisdom game.
All right.
It's close. The Cubs have a lead. They give up the lead. And then they load the bases with nobody out. And I'm thinking, yeah, this is what they do. They're down 4-3. They're not going to. They don't. They can't score with runners in scoring position. They're terrible with runners in scoring position. And of course, the first guy, Amaya, flies out to short center field, and there's 1 out. And I'm thinking, okay, Armstrong's up, and he's a strikeout candidate because he's a left-handed hitter. They bring a left-handed pitcher in, and Craig Counsell, the Cubs manager, says, "I'm not going to let this guy bat. I'm going to put in the right-hander Wisdom." And I'm thinking, well, at least if Armstrong makes contact, they're not going to double him up. He's too fast. Wisdom, they can double up. Well, lo and behold, that's why Craig Counsell is the manager in that league, because
Yeah.
Craig, here comes Wisdom up, and Wisdom crushes a 2-1 pitch. Thank God he went ahead of the count, and he crushes a 2-1 pitch off the lefty, and it's a grand slam home run. The Cubs never look back. They scored a couple more runs. They win the game 9-4. They don't give up any more runs. Imanaga struggled a little bit, but as usual, the Cubs starters keep them in the game. 5 2/3, 3 runs for Imanaga, but no walks again. Uh, uh, and then today, Sunday, the Cubs get 12 hits. Wisdom hits another home run. Morel is pulled out of the game. It was told, I think, early in the game,
Yeah. They knew he was
pack
gone.
your stuff up. It's yeah. I think that while he was on the bench, that they already started packing his stuff, and it's a sad moment, you know. When you get traded here, you've been with this organization your whole career, and he's been with the Cubs for probably, I would guess, about 10 years. He came
Mm.
up slowly, you know, young and slow, and he was never one of the top prospects. But he really built himself out, and he provided some great moments for the Cubs. And they pack him up and they say it's time to go. There's a moment there because of all the good things he's done, but it was time for him to move on, and another place for him to go. In the meantime, Patrick Wisdom's playing. Actually, Wisdom was playing first base. I think they had Bodie on third. And Wisdom hits another home run. Cubs get 12. Cubs get 12 hits and win 7-3. Assad had a quality start and for his fifth win. And Leiter and Neris close it off, and the Cubs win to finish 2-1 in Kansas City. And now fly down to Cincinnati, which should be interesting because now the Cubs are playing the Central Division, which they haven't done well against. And we'll see it for jockeying position for the bottom of the division between the
Yeah.
Cubs and Reds
Because
in this series.
The Reds are like 2 percentage points behind them, I think, in the
Yeah.
standing for last place.
So we'll see. Where do the Cardinals go again?
I think they got 3 games at home. I can't remember.
Yeah, they're playing Texas now at home. And that could be tough because Texas is trying to do something.
They're trying to hang in
Uh,
there, yeah. So they got
so that could be a tough one.
Nathan Evaldi versus Andre Palante tomorrow
So
night.
we'll see on the next show what happens.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, folks.
Yeah, we'll see who is left on these rosters and if there's any fresh faces, bringing some new excitement to either one of these teams. Like you mentioned, I think the Cardinals need a starter. They get into a bind every time they have to do a spot start. If there's a rainout and then they have a doubleheader and it disrupts their 5-man rotation, they're just hosed, and they end up starting Liberatore, trying to do these bullpen games, and it is just not working. They need another starter, and they need to let Liberatore just focus on coming out of the bullpen and see if he can become effective at that. If he can't, he's going to end up moving on because they're going to, how many years are they going to keep trying to work with the guy? It's not turning him into a quality player. But
Yeah.
anyway, looking at the Cardinals, I think they need a starter and they need a right-handed bat. It either, ideally it would be coming from the Tommy Edman return, but that is just continuing to. That's a saga that just doesn't seem to want to end.
All
But
right. So
he,
what are you going to give the Cubs for
uh,
right-handed right-handed outfielder Suzuki and pitcher Taeyang?
wow. See, I don't know who the Cardinals could give to entice the Cubs to
Yeah, that
do
would
that.
be. Those two teams don't like trading with each other.
No, because it just comes back to haunt you, you know, so clearly when it does happen.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you'd have to start with Edmund, but that's not going to happen. So we won't even discuss it.
and I don't see the value. If I'm the Cardinals, I don't really see the value in trading Edmund because again, I don't think he's going to get you a lot at face value because of the injury. And he's not a superstar, but I think he's very valuable to the Cardinals because he's a key to getting that roster depth sorted out.
Yeah, is he right-handed or left-handed?
He's a switch hitter.
Oh God, speed, switch hitting, versatile.
He's a significantly better hitter from the right side, so versus left-handed pitching, which is what the Cardinals need.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, when he comes back, he could be the guy that they might not need to make a deal. They just got to get him back, but they can use a pitcher.
I think they need to make other deals, but I think getting Edman back is an internal deal that pays off dividends. Like I said, it basically frees up a roster spot because they're not going to need to have Brandon Crawford as a backup shortstop if they haven't.
I've got one more observation before we close this off here, Tommy, unless you have anything else.
No, I mean, I was just looking at, I was looking at some team stat stuff, which we can end on. I was looking at some recent play by Cardinals. Couple of note, Mike Ciani. So, a left-handed bat, awesome center fielder. This guy he has saved several ball games for the Cardinals. But the last 30 games, this guy batting 308 with a 718 OPS. If he can do that, there's your center fielder. He's a Gold Glove out
Yeah,
there. What
yeah,
what more do you want? Yeah, doesn't have a lot of power. He's not going to slug a lot. If he can do 700 OPS, that's my center fielder. And
yeah,
I was also looking at Contreras, his last 15 games, batting 296, nearly almost 900 OPS, 4 homers. So point there being, he came back from injury and didn't miss a beat.
yeah. He's one of those guys that in the next few years he's going to keep getting better,
Consistent
especially with his
performer.
brother doing well in
Yeah,
Milwaukee. I think there's some competition there,
yeah. Now
and
on the downside, Sonny Gray, his last 7 starts, he's 2-2 with a 5.02 ERA. Davis, he's been struggling.
yeah, I wonder what's going on with him.
Yeah, I don't know what other item you wanted to cover.
I've got an observation about fans. But
Ah,
if I get into it now, maybe we'll get into it next week. If I get into it now,
okay.
it's we're going to start this next week, I think, and
Yeah,
it's
probably
called
better.
the
We've got
it's
plenty of
called
material already here.
and we're going to call it the fan moron meter. It's called the moron meter, and how high up in that meter can a fan go to be a real moron? And I have an example
Mm.
this week, but
Mhm.
we'll get to that next week because otherwise my blood pressure will
Well,
rise.
and interestingly, my oldest daughter was Saturday night was at the Yankees Red Sox game at Fenway, sitting out in the center field uh, seats
Is
out
that
there where the
right?
crazies are. Yeah, so I want to get the download from her, and she may have some contributions to moronic fan behavior.
Right. We're going to get into moronic. I've touched on it before, but we're going to get into some things. And we got the fan moron meter. And
Okay.
hey, we already got about 3 responses calling you a jerk, Lord Davis. I didn't even say anything yet. I'm just
Oh,
telling you what I got.
yeah.
Don't bother me. Sorry, Joe. I mean, I didn't. Anyway, go ahead, Tommy.
Now, the one other note was looking at the hapless White Sox. They're playing 250 ball, which projects to a 40 win season. So they could go 40 and 122 if they keep up this pace. I think you mentioned in the pre-meeting this is the second time they've been marred in a 14-game losing streak this year.
Yes.
But anyway, back to the 40 and 122. That would be the worst team in modern history. The 1962 Mets were an expansion team that went 42 and 120. I think under the leadership of Casey Stengel.
Casey Stengel was brought in, and there is a documentary or a show about that, and I think there was a book or something about that, and I think they said that of those guys who played on that team, what was it, 62? You said 64,
Yeah.
62. Anyway, the guys that played on that team, I think 15 of them never played after that season again.
Oh, really?
Something crazy. I don't know. I have to double check on that. I should have, but let me tell you how badly the White Sox have played. They have 27 wins, and we're
Yeah.
almost to August. Now, there's some bad teams in the league. Miami, they've won 39. The Rockies have won 38. Um, That's still 10 games better
Yeah.
than the White Sox. This is incredible. I mean, and this is a team that they did give up some of their best players. Dylan Cease, who just threw a no-hitter this week for San Diego. They
Yep.
did give up some of these guys. But they haven't even traded away these guys that they're going to possibly be trading away.
Yeah. What's going to happen after that?
Yeah, their best pitcher, Garrett Crochet, starting pitcher, they made him a starter this year. This is an interesting, as an aside here, this is interesting because if you trade for this guy, you're going to give up a lot to get him.
Yep.
So you can get a solid starter for the rest of the year. This guy has not thrown a lot of innings. I believe this is his first year as a full time starter. He hasn't
Okay.
thrown a lot of innings. So I think the plan for the White Sox was they're out of it, shut him down
Yeah.
toward the end of the year,
Yeah.
like Strasburg was
Keep his
shut down
value
with
high.
Washington.
Yeah. Keep his value high either for trade or for future performance as a White Sox.
Exactly. If you get Crochet, what are you getting for the rest of this year and the postseason? How many innings can this guy go?
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, the
Without
White
risking it.
Sox have right. The White Sox have a minus 218 differential in runs, minus 218.
Yeah. It's interesting to see, are they going to end up, eclipsing the 62 Mets record? Now, as I
And not an
recall, and this is another
expansion
one.
team.
Well, this is another one that we got to look up because I think several years ago, Detroit, going into the last 2 weeks of the season, was was going to lose 120 games,
Oh
and I
yeah,
think they had to win like their last seven to avoid being the worst team ever, and they did it. And we got to go back and look that one up, but
yeah. We'll have
they
to look
got
up the White
super
Sox.
motivated and somehow won like their last seven games and ended up winning like 43 or 44 games instead of the Mets 42. But again, here's the White Sox on pace to win 40, and was looking at back to the
Yeah,
team stats. There's 30 teams in the league, right? So looking at the major offensive categories, average OPS, slugging, and runs scored in each of those categories, the White Sox are 30th. And in
right.
home runs, they're 28th. Then you go to the other side on pitching, and they're 29th in ERA and 29th in walk hits per innings pitched. You talk about misery. They're the obvious worst offensively and pitching wise.
Yeah,
So
it's just
anyway,
really sad. Here in Chicago, I get to watch the Cubs and the White Sox on TV every day, and I turn the White Sox on, and it's really, really sad. I just
yeah,
really hate to see this. As a Cubs fan, even I hate to see a team suffer like this. I was watching the game today, and I'm thinking, okay, they've lost 13 in a row, and I see the fans out there. They're thinking, okay, I'm going to go out there watch. Maybe they'll break this. They were down by 5 runs in the third or fourth inning.
yeah, it's
How
over.
enjoyable could this be?
Yeah, yeah. Hey Joe, you got to get us a White Sox fan as a guest here in the upcoming weeks. We'd like to, get some insight into what it's like to be a White Sox fan at this point.
Do they exist?
Yes, they exist. I know some White Sox fans, and they're proud White Sox fans. The White Sox are a proud organization, and
They're
they're
just not standing up very tall these days.
yeah.
We'll
Tommy,
find one.
Tommy, one more quick stat since we were going into the stats, going back to the Cubs and Cardinals. Uh, when you look at MLB and you look at the standings, you see the Cardinals at 54 and 51, 6 games back, and you see the Cubs at 51 and 56, 10 games back, four games worse than the Cardinals. They have an expected one-loss uh, stat based
Oh
on
yeah,
the
that's
runs
always been
scored
fun.
and the run
Yeah.
differential.
Hmm.
And the Cardinals expected they're 54 and 51, but based on the run loss differential, MLB says they should be 47 and 58,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
the Cubs should be 53 and 54 based on their run differential, which is minus 7 runs, and the Cardinals are minus 48. So that's pretty interesting there.
The Cardinals are the Marlins from last year when the Marlins won all those one-run games and got
Yeah.
into the playoffs. The Cardinals are basically that team this year on the strength of Helsley getting all
My
those
take on
saves.
that and my prediction before we go, Tommy, and my prediction: the Cubs and Cardinals are going to finish tied at the end of the
Tied for
season. Here
last.
it is. Our well, yeah, I think with about 80 wins or 81 wins, or maybe just ahead of the Reds. I don't know, but it's a situation where we're going to talk all year about baseball hell and Cubs and Cardinals, and they're going to end up tied, and we're going to have to do this again next year.
Yes.
On, on. Yes, we are, Joe.
Joe only signed on for one season.
Well, he's the producer.
Yeah.
He's the one who came up with this idea.
Yeah, really. Thanks a lot, Joe.
Yeah. You got some Pepto Bismol. Yeah, I got some, Joe. But
All
anyway,
right. Well, I think we better wrap it up and let Joe get out of here and hopefully start
yeah,
feeling better soon. So with that, folks, check us out. Check out the previous episodes on Spotify and also on YouTube. Also, Amazon Music has the podcast section. You can find us there.
yeah.
Check us out, subscribe, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from some folks out there. I want to
Yeah.
hear. I want to hear stuff other than Ward Davis is a jerk. We already know that. We need some new information.
Hey.
Anyway,
What
thank you,
did I
folks,
do?
for listening. We appreciate you. Glad to spin out another episode of Baseball Hell. And I think with that, we're going to wrap it up for the week. Say goodbye to the folks and say goodnight, Davis.
Yeah, good night, Katie. Ta for now.
Shit.